Hey everybody, we're back with another Baldies 2021. The deliberations keep being deliberated again. It's a stupid award show. It's at least as dumb as any others. We just try to be a bit more transparent about it. Starting with the commissions, best commission of the year. I like this category. I'm glad to see it back and back strong. Did 15 commission film last year, and we, when we first did this, we realized, well, shoot, if we just make it about, a popularity contest, like, it'll be boring, if it's just like the quality of the thing the person sent in intrinsically. Well, so we came up with a system we like to call MIFS. It stands for media quality, that is your subjective. How good is this movie? Mm-hmm. Did we like it? Or TV show, whatever. Interest. Did it generate interesting conversation? That is another subjective thing that me and Jim, but there's also the fun aspect, which is, did this movie generate hilarity and delight in the conversation around it? And then finally, surprise. This is the thing that makes or breaks movies. Because,
controversial. Yep.
Yeah, but honestly, one of the things I love most about the commission podcast is being surprised by something I never would have thought to see or watch and being delighted. So yeah, I it's not perfect, but again, we're transparent about it.
Which, movies like Jurassic Park, which is number 15 on our list here, are not high in surprise. So like they might be excellent in other ways, right? But
yeah,
I feel like it balances out, right? We've a lot of these movies we've seen, so they won't be very surprising, but we've seen them because they're good movies, like big movies, right. And so their media quality will be very high.
They'll be fun to talk about, or they'll be super interesting to talk. Yeah, so
I think it balances out.
Compensate. But every once in a while you go to Murderer's Row of just a really amazing film we haven't seen that was cool to talk about or funny.
Yeah, and
then the surprise just puts it over. So we got 15 films to talk about with the MIF system. The MIF system is a 1 to 5 rating. So let's start out with Tombstone. I think that's a 5 media for me.
Ooh, boy.
I do love Tombstone, and I was super excited to talk. I mean, because you had never seen it before. I know you're not quite as high on Western stuff as I am.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I just knew you'd love it, and I was happy to talk to you about it. So.
I did love it. I could see this being a 5. It's one of the most entertaining Westerns I've actually watched.
Oh man,
because it's more modern. I feel like Harder They Fall kind of blew that wall down again.
Sure.
This year, but yeah, Tombstone was great.
So quotable. Oh my god.
Right?
Just so many.
Val Kilmer is so good in that movie. So good.
He's half of the quotable. Like I still my favorite line. One of my favorite lines of all time in a movie is when he staggers out of the saloon to confront the boys at the OK Corral, and he's staggering because he's drunk, and one of them says, look at a Holiday, he's so drunk he's probably seeing double. And he whips out his guns and says, that's all right, I got a gun for both of you. So good. It's so good. So are you with me on a 5?
I think so.
All right, perfect 5 for media quality. What about interest?
Okay. I was fascinated by the story of the making of this movie, with Kevin Costner being involved, and then wasn't the director of it one of the Panatos?
Yeah.
And it turns out he never really actually directs anything. Kurt Russell ended up directing most of this movie.
And this became like a legend throughout the year. Like, we kept on coming across instances where the story was the star of the show took over. Wasn't Kevin? Wasn't it? There's a like.
Yeah, Kevin Costner did that to him in one movie, and I can't remember what it was. Was it Waterworld?
No, it wasn't Waterworld, but it was something like that. And like I think it happened like 3 times. We're like, is this guy literally just brought in to ghost direct so that some star can do their vanity project?
It seems like it. Oh, it was Cobra. Cobra was directed by this guy, but Stallone ended up directing most of it. Also, Rambo First Blood Part 2 was directed by this guy.
There you go. Because I remember when we were looking at that guy's son that did Mandy.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? His dad's got some chops. Look at his resume. But then you look at his resume and it's all fraudulent.
Right.
So, or at least, at the very least, there's big asterisks. Like, actually, this guy was more of a second unit director at best.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fucking fascinating to talk about.
Yeah. And the story of Kevin Costner, you know, wanting to be in this movie and wanting to do it his way. And then when he couldn't get his way on everything, throwing a tantrum, quitting the project and going over and making Wyatt Earp
the
instead. The
Tombstone.
shittier version of Tombstone. Yeah. It's crazy, man. I really
now,
enjoyed that.
I will push back. I'm like, is this up there with like talking about Donnie Darko? Because when I think of like interesting, I think of things that involve like the movie Primer. I don't know if that was a commission podcast. I felt like it was, or maybe you just maybe watch it. But things like that where it's like you can really tear into like the themes and the technologies and the implications, stuff like Gattaca, like that kind of thing is what I think of when I think of interest. So like on that scale, is this like a 4? Or am I completely wrong to think of it that way?
I think you could be right. Because the movie itself there aren't like a ton of themes and stuff to talk about. There's like one, right? The main relationship between Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp. But I feel like interest and fun are going to be sort of proportional here, right? Like fun, as fun goes up in this podcast, interest comes down, because I think most of it is just fun to talk about. It's the one-liners, it's the kind of silly at times performance from Val Kilmer, and but it's intensely fun. So yeah,
that's what I was thinking, because even the Cosmonopos, what the fuck is this guy's name?
It's George P. Cosmatos, or
Cosmatos.
I don't know how you say that last name, but that's
it's like, even that is like, is that interesting or is that just funny and fun?
Right. I find it interesting to see that behind the scenes workings stuff, but it was also very much fun to point out that this was the second movie in like as many weeks. It was like back to back where we found out about that stuff.
It's crazy how we have these like mini runs and we don't even know that we're getting onto them. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I'd be inclined to go at least no lower than a 3 on interest because of all the behind the scenes stuff.
3.5? Like I said, I was opening to bidding a 4. Maybe 3.5 is the way to go. Because it's not like 3 is, I think, a normal podcast, you know, and I think there was a little bit more interest.
True.
In that.
Okay, yeah, I could see it going as high as 4 then.
Okay, let's start at 4. We can always adjust. And then fun. That's like
that goes higher, I think.
4, 4.5, 5. Because like I hate giving out 5 because I think of like Goonies, I think of Back to the Future,
Willy Wonka, those things.
Willy Wonka, even Jurassic Park. Like the things where like I just like a huge fun factor.
Yeah.
I don't like giving out them the 5s on interest and fun.
I'm with you.
I could go 4, 4.5.
I could see a 4 for sure. Just like, you know, all those one-liners and stuff, and
4.5, you said?
Swagger. 4, definitely.
All right.
If you want to go 4.5,
nah, I think
4.
that's maybe, this wasn't like a laugh a minute.
Right.
It is a fun movie for sure.
And if you recall, the way we typically do this is we get through all of these movies and then we go back and we say, that doesn't feel right. Let's weight this a little bit. So
yeah, it's fraudulent and stupid. But at least we're being honest about it. We're not gaslighting and be like, oh no, this was a learned body that met behind golden walls and burnt branches until they got the right answer from God. How about surprise? Because I'm at a 0. I'm at. You can't
Of
zeros
course.
in L. It's a 1. But like,
I'm higher. I'm much higher on that.
were you really surprised?
Well, I'm not a huge fan of westerns, like you said.
That's true.
And
but
so
you're not
like,
an anti-fan.
No, I'm not an anti-fan either. But I don't think of westerns as being much fun, right? Like a western is a pretty dry thing. It's about a hero who comes and saves a town or a impoverished bunch of people or his own land or whatever, and it's going to be like this serious, gritty, not even always gritty, but just like very serious, somber thing. This is way more fun than that.
Yeah.
So my surprise is at least a 3. But is a 3 in surprise a normal podcast? Is that what we're saying? Because if so, it has to go
like
higher.
if you like you got underwhelmed versus overwhelmed and then whelmed. I think 3. No, because like 1 is a total lack of surprise. I knew what I was getting into. I got exactly what I was into. There was no like I might have been. Yeah, like I could have gotten a 5 out of Tombstone if I watched it. I'm like, oh, actually, seeing it within the first time in 10 years, this movie is terrible. Holy, like
Sure.
because of XYZ. That's not happened. So like I'm at a 1. If you're at a 3, then I'd say that means you were not surprised. Well, no, 1 is not surprised.
1 is not surprised in any way. 3 would
mild
be
surprise, and a 5 is just like I can't fucking believe, or I had 0 expectations, and this thing exceeded them all.
Feels like a 3 for me, which would probably put it at like a 2 overall if we combine our scores.
If we combine it, yeah. All right. The 5442 Tombstone. Let's see how it does in the voting. Now, this isn't interesting. This was World of Tomorrow. What is this guy's name? Dan something or other. Starts with an F.
F?
No, it's Dawn. World of Tomorrow.
Hertzfeld? Hertzfeld. Don
Hertzfeld.
Hertzfeld. That sounds right.
Got it just before I looked it up. Don Hertzfeld.
And it's about a girl experiencing displacement in time and space with her android friend, and
did we mention it's animated?
It is right. It's stick figure animations with like very colorful sort of environments and backgrounds and borderline trippy visuals. Not quite.
Oh yeah, depending on the episode for sure. I'd say trippy. This film, I think, all combined total, this is just at an hour of watching. Like the first one is, I think, 10 minutes long, and then the second one's like 15, and then I think the last one might be 20, 25. And they're hard to get because of reasons we talk about on the podcast.
Got to go to Vimeo. The creators.
Yeah, you got to go to Vimeo. I think you can get the Blu-ray now. Like it was like, and there might be some other availability because there's an official print. But anyway, this thing was a huge multi-award winning animation project by this very avant-garde animator who's extremely famous in like indie animation circles. And I had heard of him before because I found this like stupid commercial thing that he did for Ha-Ha's back in the day, and I thought it was hilarious. I think this is a 5.
Yeah.
It's weird because it is so short and it is so like primitive and brutish of a cartoon, but you gotta see how he uses all the medium. So you're not fighting me on this. I thought you might fight me.
No, I don't think so. And I like when we get into the next chunk too, this interest, it's going to be very high as well because the conversation that it inspires, the themes of it are very interesting.
And it's deep in multi directions because it's deep in the terms of like some of these science fiction concepts of cloning and memory recursion and time travel, which is always like that's pretty good for a 5 on a Bald Move Commission. But then there's also like the voyage inward into like, what does it mean to be in love and to find fulfillment and to work. And to me, this is a perfect 5 on interest.
Yeah, I agree. It's really like Don Hertzfeld's thesis on what what makes a well-lived life, essentially.
Yeah. Or yeah, like it's weird to talk about this cartoon that's like I said, it's stick figure. There's fart humor, toilet humor in it. That this is someone's like magnum opus, but it really is. It really is.
Mhm.
Fun.
Fun. Mm,
There is some hilarious shit that happens in the movie, but this is not what I would call the bald move. Like I grew up watching this as a child. I've noticed a million funny weird things about this movie.
yeah.
That's hilarious to talk about. But it's not a 1.
No, but man, it probably can't go higher than a 2, right?
Ooh.
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm thinking, okay, we covered Girl with the Dragon Tattoo this year. That's not fun to talk about.
That is not a fun.
That's the one, right?
Yeah.
So, World of Tomorrow has a little bit more than that amount of humor and playfulness. But it has less than your average one, I think. I think it has less than an average.
Yeah, I guess
down
2
this list.
maybe 2's right. Maybe 2's right.
It feels right to me.
Okay. And then what do you think about the surprise? Because here's the thing. I had seen the first chapter of this, and I knew it was good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was... but I remember being more funny and, yeah, poignant, but not... I think the second and third chapter are what make this trilogy. More than just kind of like a quirky, offbeat piece of animation. It's kind of cute. Oh, he recorded his niece, and she's making these... And you've got this deadpan narrator, and... So like I actually was when I saw this commission, I'm like, this is going to be a 10-15 minute long deal, man. Like we're going to watch like 3 5-minute movies and like what the hell. But I was kind of blown away by especially the third chapter, like how much more complex emotionally it was. So I think it didn't come out of nowhere, but it's up there like a 4.
Yeah, it could be. Because I hadn't heard anything about this guy or this particular piece of animation, so it's pretty high for me too. And with as good as it was, yeah, I would have to go like at least a 4. Yeah.
Sounds like we're rounding into a 4 shape. What would be a 5?
Pontypool is a 5, right? Like something we had never even heard of. Neither of us had heard of it.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
We didn't know anything about it. We went in and we thought it was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then honestly, like I like to get to what I like for a 5 is be like, what the fuck is that? And I look at the synopsis and be like, oh Jesus, and then it totally wins me over.
Yeah.
Like, oh god damn, a fucking mid-budget zombie film. Jesus Christ. Okay. But yeah. So I think you're right. I think 4 is pretty appropriate. Gran Torino, aka the movie I could not remember the name of. Like if you put a gun to my head before I looked at this and said, "What is this called?" It'd be El Camino. It'd be
right.
El Dorado. Gran Torino. This is the Clint Eastwood movie about an old man being racist until he has firsthand experience with. Well, I guess he had firsthand experience with Asian folk. I don't know what the hell. It's like I like this movie. I defend this movie. I know this movie in a lot of people's minds hasn't aged well. But I think that's because you've probably never grown up around people who are like, you know, deeply bigoted. Because this shit's kind of evergreen for me. Is it the quality though? Like, to me, this isn't a 5 movie.
This is our first not 5.
This is a 4 movie because it's above average in terms of how well it's shot, in terms of its editing, in terms of its writing. Like old Clint, can shoot a workman-like movie.
Sure.
So 4?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Then
I feel like interest and
interest.
fun are probably going to be
Pretty
threes.
low.
Like I'm in the 3 range. Like it's not. It was interesting to talk about some of this stuff in regards to like I don't know where these lines kind of blur up against each other between like hard work and uh, what is the word I'm looking for? Disadvantage. I thought some of that stuff was interesting. There is, of course, the conversation about like, hey, is this movie racist? Or is this just a
also
racist guy
really
in a
liked.
movie? It's not.
I also. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I think in that vein, like I thought it was really interesting to see the different ways that some of the actors, the Hmong actors that
Yeah.
you know were recruited to play had like their feelings about the matter changed, and
Mm-hmm.
how like because like there's another way is like how things can age in like dog years is like I think this movie is pretty progressive in that it got actual actors from the racial groups depicted to depict them.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, I think it'd just be cast and call for like generic Asian, and because of that, there was a lot of things in like the dialogue and the culture that seemed like it was very authentic and from an authentic place. But then also the attitudes in which these people were treated sometimes on set,
Yeah.
like were a little bit head ass. So I thought that was interesting, but like
Mm-hmm.
not a 5 interest,
No.
maybe, but not like a 3, maybe a 3.5.
No. Okay. Yeah,
What about fun? I think this movie's not a ton of fun to
I
talk
agree.
about. Like it was actively unfun because you're below
Um,
3 if it was.
I mean, not actively on fun, but like, is it as much fun as World of Tomorrow? Probably
Yeah.
about the same.
Also, I gotta
Feeling
say,
like
I
there's
find it
two.
some of the movies like this that are from what I would consider a classically conservative perspective. I almost hate covering them because, like, I feel like if you don't just outright condemn the shit and say that you can't see past it, then like I'm always worried that people are gonna be like, shitty about that.
Hmm.
And like there's a little bit of comments that you get when you get, but like it just didn't like really you know it didn't ever, but that's what I'm trying to say. It's like I'm always a little bit on my back heels talking about this stuff because I feel like I have to qualify every fucking thing when
Right.
I'm praising something that has some people said that that's harmful or hurtful.
Which makes it less fun to
And
talk about when you're walking
it
on
really
eggshells, right?
does. It really does.
Yeah.
So like to me this was kind of like an unfun for that aspect. So I would go like 2.
Yep. That's what I was thinking.
And then finally surprise.
I'd seen this before. It's not super surprising. It didn't change my mind about it, having seen it like 10 years later, but
I'll give it a 1.5 because I actually thought it held up better. I thought it was going to be like, when I watched it, I'm going to be like, not only are there problems in the margin, but where this movie's heart is in a bad place. I don't think that's true. So I was a little surprised so like 1.5.
yeah, that sounds good.
It's not Aaron's complete lack of surprise, but it's close. All right. Win-win.
Win-win.
This
So
was
this
the
is
wrestling movie, Paul Giamatti.
where he adopts he's kind of like forcibly adopts this young high
Yeah.
school age teenager who is
Foster is the word, I think.
he's very like angsty and reserved, and he came from a hard place in life, but he's a phenomenal wrestler. Like he's a state championship level wrestler. Yeah. And they don't find that out until a little bit into the movie, and then the movie becomes like Paul Giamatti is also down on his luck, right? He's got some money problems with his business, and is that right? He's like what is he? in that movie.
He's a
like
lawyer, a guardian,
lawyer,
like
yeah.
for like older people, and yeah, he's
like got, is it his dad in a nursing home or something, and he's like stealing the social security checks?
It's this guy's
his client
grandfather.
Right.
It's the wrestling kid's grandfather.
Yeah. And so there's a big conflict of interest between like, oh shit, this kid could have a pretty good life. We could help him out here by getting him in with the wrestling stuff, but we kind of also don't have a lot of money and we need his grandfather's money. And there's this big conflict of interest about like doing right by the kid or right by his family, or like hiding, his transgressions. And
I remember it's one of those things where it's like Paul Giamatti's a very ethical and moral guy in general, and that's why he's in the position he's in. But and I remember like this movie gives you all the reasons in the world to like look the other way. But at the end of the day, it's like you can't do this, man. And I thought I liked it because a lot of these movies will go one way or the other, where it's like they don't do a good job of showing like how people can get in these desperate situations and kind of like bend, or they just completely like, well, it's okay because they because it was justified or because it's understandable, it's okay. I thought this movie did a really good job of showing like a person paying like, and if I recall correctly, even an appropriate price.
Yeah.
It's not like he lived happily ever after, but he also, he didn't go do jail time, right? He was just kind of like financially semi-ruined.
Yeah.
God, but I really like this film. I don't know if it's a 5 because it's like one of those mid-budget kind of like shot cheap, and it shows.
Who's his mom? Is Melanie Linsky his mom in that?
I think she is, actually.
Okay, that's before I really knew who she was the first time I saw this, because I had seen this before.
This has got Bobby Cannavale in it too, and he delivers a lot of the big laughs.
Yep, and of course there are some Giamatti laughs too.
Oh yeah. I think this is a classic 4.
Seems
maybe
like
4.5. I think it's in the grand tour. Yeah, I think it's 4. What about interest?
Yeah, I mean, this is another like this might be a 3 and 3 on interest and fun for me.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing.
It's got some themes you can talk about and latch onto, but it's not time
they
travel.
They do a really good job of showing like it. This was the year of the sports movie. I felt like the obscure sports movie where it's like they do a good job of making the sport exciting and easy to follow without knowing any of the rules or it's like they do a very good job of showing why this kid is a brilliant wrestler. And if I recall correctly, they actually used a kid that's a brilliant wrestler. Mm-hmm. So like he's got the fucking skills. Where
Paul Giamatti like wrestles him, right? Or doesn't wrestle him. I don't know. He ends up
he calls him out,
wrestling himself somehow to the ground. It's very good. I think Bobby Cannavale might wrestle him. I can't remember.
I think 3/3 for fun is and surprise. I'll give this a 4.
Yeah, it had been a long time since I've seen this movie. So
yeah,
I probably wouldn't go 4 on this because I had seen it before. But
you had, okay.
But I didn't remember much of it.
I had a certain expectation when I saw who was involved, and it was Paul Giamatti and Bobby Cannavale, and I thought it exceeded that. So to me, but if you have 0 surprise, then we're looking at like 2ville or 2.5.
I mean, it's not 0 surprise because, like I said, I didn't remember much of it, but I could go with 3 on this maybe.
All right,
if you were pretty surprised by it.
4.333. All right, Lost in Translation. Quality, I think this is a 5 movie.
I think so too. I'm
no fucking shot at lower. I love this movie.
Yep.
Interesting. I think this was I remember this being a pretty interesting podcast.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is all about like phases of life and
loneliness.
Yeah, and like coping with changing feelings about your life and things like that. And I find it fascinating.
And I've watched this. I just happened to watch this film like 10 years apart at different parts of my life. And it's amazing. Like,
right.
Like I remember really feeling like, I don't know if I've had to have talked about this, but like kind of feeling bad for her like the photographer Giovanni, and I empathize a lot more with like Bill Murray's character because I've been through a lot more shit.
Yeah.
But so like the fact that like I viewed it so much differently from a 20-year remove or however long it's been, I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't know if it's a 5.
Yeah, I feel you.
4.5, 4.
I go at least a 4 on this. Yeah, that might feel right.
Want to shade it to 4.5?
Yeah.
Might be high. I don't know. What about fun?
Fun's probably going to bring it down. The movie isn't a ton of fun. It has Bill Murray. It's got some comedy, but it's very dry and it's very like not the point of this movie.
Yeah. It is fun. There is some funny, like dry kind of Bill Murray, fish out of water kind of stuff, but
yeah.
I think 3 is appropriate. And then surprise.
0. It's a 1. I've seen this so many times.
I'm going to give a 1.5 just because I was a little surprised at the fact that I had a bit of a different take to it,
Yeah.
All right, Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Boy, this is a great film, but I don't think it's a 5. But it's close.
Boy.
Is this a Terry Gilliam joint?
It is, yeah.
So it's got that kind of...
that energy.
Yeah,
sort
like
of insane.
Grungy and low rent, but very Baroque in design. Like just like shit piled on top of shit in terms of design and whatnot.
Yeah, and the ideas in it are sort of out of this world.
Yep. And the effects work comes and goes. I didn't quite enjoy some of the Robin Williams stuff, which I thought was shocking. I don't know. I think this is a 4.5, somewhere in there.
Okay, man, I don't remember this movie very well at all. I remember it starts with like a stage play, and this guy's being like chased out of town. I don't know.
There's a war coming.
And he's talking about like how he's been on all these adventures.
Right, yeah. He comes in, he's incensed that they're getting details of his life wrong. And then but also war is like gathering around the theater and they're trying to get like out on a balloon at the same time. It's very,
I think there are questions about like
fantastical.
Yeah. It's very fantastical. I don't know, man. Media quality. I remember really enjoying it.
It's got the fastest guy in the world, the strongest guy in the world.
Right.
It's like we talked about it being like a superhero film.
Yeah.
And it's Terry Gilliam. It's interesting to look at.
Totally.
Relentlessly so.
Yeah, there are a couple of his films I like.
Super early Uma Thurman. Do you feel more better? Do you feel better with a 4? Seems like you're hesitant with the 4.5.
Yeah, I mean, if it didn't really strike me enough to remember most of it, then yeah, it's probably not a 5.
Interest level? I don't. Man, I really have a hard time recalling doing the. I remember the film
that. Well, I remember I came to this movie with a lot to talk about and some very like big thematic stuff, but I don't remember what it was. I remember going into it thinking, "Oh man, here's some meat we can actually chew on," and I've thought about this movie a lot, and now I can't remember any of what I thought about. What the hell? I could go to my drive.
I'm going into my notes, and that's what I'm actually doing.
Baron Munch doesn't bring this up in my search. What? Baron von Munch. It's not bringing it up. I don't know. Google's broken.
No, I looked at my notes and like this was a very stream of consciousness thing. I have no idea. It didn't look like they have like a giant thematic thing.
Oh, there
I don't
we
know,
go.
man.
Okay. I mean, some of those effects were really cool. I do remember like the stage play with the sea. I thought the way that they portray the sea was very cool. Let me see if I got something at the end of this.
I think it's 3s or maybe even 2, 3, but the surprise is pretty high. I go with a 4 surprise because I see an old Terry Gilliam, and I'm not ones that like worship Terry Gilliam. I think he's made films that are a little bit weird for me.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
And I was a little surprised that this, when I looked at the box art, when I looked at some of the trail, like that this was. I thought that I would not, because of the practical effects and the superheroes, the supernatural aspect of it. I didn't think they'd pull it off, but like I remember some of those, some of the practical effects and the aspect changes and the compositing was stronger than I thought, or it was so fantastic that it was kind of beside the point. So
right,
like I said, I'm like a 2-3. I don't think it's like, but I might be damning this thing with faint praise.
Yeah, no, it's a shame. Okay.
This is taking a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't think it'd take that long to go
well,
through
we've
all
got
this
4
stuff.
things to debate on every single movie, so it's...
Yeah. What about then surprise? Like I said, I was up to 4 on this because I
was surprised how much I liked it.
It's one of those things that every once in a while I get a commission where it's like, man, I can tell this means a lot to the person, and it's a nostalgic thing for them, and they got a lot, and I'm like, oh God, I don't want like a super short, I have nothing to say podcast or whatever. And I'm always relieved when I like something. I'm like, oh yeah, I got things to talk about. And I felt like that was that. So, and I was really worried. Moving on to Predator. I mean, this is a fucking 5.
I mean, it's one of the greatest action movies ever made. Yeah.
Interest? Because
I don't think so, man.
No.
It's a 5 and
is
fun.
Is it a 1? Is it a 1?
God, what is interesting about it is
Jean-Paul Van Damme being a dog monster before he was too good for the latex and fucked off.
There's some interesting behind the scenes stuff. There's that's all I can think of, man.
It's 2, right?
Sure, we'll be generous and give it a 2.
But it's like a 10. It's a 10 for fun. This was one of the most fun podcasts. Yeah. It kicked off one of the most fun things we did that last year, which was the Badass Festival. I don't know if you hated it. I apologize. It's going to come back this year. But yeah, this was a fucking 5 for fun. Man, just from the sexual Tyrannosaurus on down, I thought it was pretty fun. And you know what? I'm not even sure that this isn't as interesting as we were making it out, because like I thought we got into like the creature design and how kind of like next level that stuff was, and the effects work, and the fact that it was like, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I always think it's funny that like people like, I hate that action movies gotten so political. Meanwhile, that one of the widely considered best action films of all time is about a illegal black ops team of American mercenaries going in to investigate CIA fuckery in southern America. That's not no politics in this. It's just Arnold's out there fighting a monster in the jungle because it's a cool setting. Like, I don't know. I feel like I want to move interest up to a 3. Yes, this is a brainless film, and we don't have a lot of like super highbrow stuff. But okay, 2, fine.
I feel like you're trying to shade it a little bit higher.
2.5,
because you know that the surprise factor is a -4.
The surprise factor is a big fact. Yeah, it's like
it's
if the fun was 10, then this is -3. Like it's
Yeah.
Let's move on to Almost Famous.
Almost Famous is good. I had never seen this before, so
me either.
Like, surprise is going to be high, but media quality
is it 5?
No,
I don't
it's
think
not a
so
5.
either.
I think it gets to a 4 though.
Yeah, that feels right.
I mean, we're seeing that just a lot of these movies that people pick are very good. They're very good movies. Because a 4 is still very good.
I think the interest in this was pretty high. I like getting in. Like I was like,
yeah.
The moment that I saw that this guy based the mother on a Jehovah's Witness, and like they essentially wrote a Jehovah's Witness character that made their a religious.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this was like a splinter in my mind. Like, why is this woman just like my mom from a completely... That like blew... I thought that stuff was really, really interesting.
And who's the director? The director of this, or the writer, Cameron? Cameron Crowe. This is effectively his life, right? Like, this is his autobiography.
Kinda, if I recall the story correctly.
Like, he was a young man traveling with a band, writing for a rock and roll magazine back in the day. And some of these people are actually real people in here. Like the editor of that magazine.
Stone's editor. And,
played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, if I remember correctly.
Well, that was this local zine who was also a real character.
Oh, right. And there was the other guy.
Yeah, the what do they call them? Fucking editors or whatever of Rolling Stone.
Yeah. It was essentially like the Thrasher magazine also. Who was... Right? Because Philip Seymour Hoffman was playing the editor of like Juiced or Moist,
it's like,
or
one
some
of those black and white manually copied that you just got in a record store. It's a zine, not a magazine, totally. A zine.
But it was super popular in underground circles around that time.
Yeah,
I thought it was fascinating to talk about from like a rock and roll history, perspective. So at least a 4 on that for me.
I'd go as high as a 4 for sure.
Okay.
Fun. More of a 3 on this one.
Yeah, there were some moments I recall being fun, but I can't recall what they were.
Yeah. Surprised though, I would go. Man, because here's the thing: is like I hadn't seen this movie before, but I've heard Bill Simmons talk about this movie 100 times, talking about what great it is and how rewatchable it is. It had a pretty good reputation at the time. So I wasn't like, oh my God, I fucking can't believe Almost Famous is good, loaded with all this talent. Billy Crudup, Kate Hudson, Anna Paquin, Zooey Deschanel, Jason Lee.
Right.
Yeah, but I was surprised because like I thought maybe... Nah, I think 4.
I was very surprised by this movie. Because I completely unfamiliar with Kate Hudson's work. She does a whole bunch of rom-com stuff and just shit that I would never watch. And this was like not that. God,
I can't even remember because I have a negative opinion of her as an actor because of the stuff I have seen her in. And I can't remember if this is the thing that completely redeemed her. Because I remember her doing something. There was one scene in the middle that they're at the end that kind of recontextualized the relationship between her and the boy.
Was it in the hotel when like...
I thought... God, see, I just realized that some of this shit is blended together in my mind with Licorice Pizza.
Oh, no. Okay.
Because I think I've got a clear the scene, but it's set in the park.
Oh, yeah.
Licorice,
Yeah.
Like, okay, so it is in the
there
park
is a scene in the park
as
well at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like a dream sequence sort of thing. Yeah.
Is it?
I mean, it's shot like one. It's
so what's your
very
surprise
soft
factor?
lighting. So like I said, I didn't like Kate Hudson, and I saw the stuff she was in. I was like, I'm not gonna like her in this, and I thought she was great. And I hadn't really, I had heard people say, "Hey, Almost Famous is good," but I didn't know anything about it, so I was pretty surprised by like what the story was, just in general. And I just really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Coming from a movie I knew nothing about.
Putting a numerical value on that would be
4.
Okay. Here we go. 2001: A Space Odyssey. That is a 5.
Oh, of course.
Interest level
5. Yeah, this is about life.
Fun level, this is where it's going to take it. This is not
History.
a particularly fun movie.
No, God, no.
Super interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Could
if there were a 6 on interesting, I'd give it. But maybe. It's fucking austere, man. This thing has no sense of...
You can't even really joke about it.
No. Because it's so well made. It's so well made, but it is so clinical that there's nothing there to talk about as far as like, wasn't it funny when, or this thing was stupid when they did that. No, it's just good and deep.
And it does nothing to make it more approachable for someone who doesn't want to watch a movie like this. Like, oh, you want to see a science fiction movie? Enjoy 20 minutes of monkeys fucking around a mud hole.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
enjoy another 20 minutes of a spaceship docking with another spaceship.
Right. Like, you will not get action until the third act, and it's going to be mostly psychological.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it could be a 1.
It feels like the definition of a 1 to me and fun.
And here's the other problem. Surprise, nothing.
Also
the only thing that surprised me is that it held up. Like, and to the point to where I don't think it's going to ever degrade. Like, the special effects are so solid with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 shots that I don't think this movie becomes like, we're going to talk about Nosferatu later this week. Or I don't know when you guys will see this. Like that movie is just terminally dated. Like, there's no way you can watch this and get anything but cerebral enjoyment and historical value out of it. I know people, whatever. Yeah, like a 1.5, because I thought maybe this would have been like, well, it's still got big ideas, but it's clunky as hell, and these effects just don't. But that's not true. Like, these are real ass effects, all in camera, to the extent that I didn't even appreciate how like not composited this movie is, and it's always going to look this good. So 1.5, just because I was surprised that I liked as much as I did, or didn't have any problems with his degradation.
Yeah.
Flight of the Navigator.
Boy, putting these two back to back really throws into question the media quality rating, because I love this movie, but Predator. It's not. Sure, or Predator. Like, it's not that, right? It's a Disney family movie about a kid who travels to space and becomes the navigator.
See, I always appreciated Roger Ebert's take on the star system, which is like, this is not an absolute rating. Like, if I give a 4-star to an action film, it's not the same as me giving 4 stars to Lawrence of Arabia, right? It's just like, this means it's the best action film I've ever seen. Yeah. And in that rating, this is damn near the perfect family film. Especially if you talk about it for its day.
I agree.
Now, I don't know if I roll all the way with Roger, where I'm going to fucking give this a 5, but I'm prepared to give it a 4.5 for sure.
Okay, sure.
Because even most of the effects hold up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Boy, those effects were brand new, and I was shocked to see how well they held up. Like, in the surprise factor, that's going to be a factor.
It's definitely like in that Terminator 2, where it's like, well, what can this thing do well? It can do geometric shapes that are untextured and chromatic reflect. Like, it just, okay, well, what can we do with that? And they mixed the practical with the, it's good. I think this is 4.5. What do you think?
As far as media quality, is there anything ridiculous about this movie? Or
is Pee Wee Herman's vocal performance?
Yeah, but it works.
Yeah,
it works for me. I don't know. I saw this movie when I was a kid, so of course it works for me, right? I'm biased, but yeah, why not? I was gonna say 4, but if you want to go 4.5, I agree. It's a pretty good family movie
for what it is. And the fact that kids, like, we had multiple accounts of like parents showing this to. Again, I think if you get to 12, 13, kids will be jaded with Marvel shit, but like you sit
Yeah.
a 4 to 8-year-old in front of this film, and they will be enthralled. I guarantee it. I've seen it firsthand. So interest.
I found it interesting to look at the behind the scenes effects work that happened.
Also, the science of this is pretty rock fucking solid, man.
That was another surprise factor, like how much they actually put the details of science, like time dilation and shit. I'm like, are they really in the middle of a Disney family movie explaining
Family
time
film.
dilation?
They're gonna bust out
Holy
Einstein and
shit.
explain relativity to you. Yeah.
And not in like a interstellar type way, but they're gonna at least address it. It held together more than I thought, and talking about that stuff was pretty interesting.
And Paul Rubin being so committed to the Pee Wee Herman character that like he licensed out a version of that voice, but like didn't want to be cast as Paul Rubin because he wanted to be a separate thing. Like some of the making of behind this stuff, the fact that isn't this the guy who turned it to a life of crime?
Yeah, totally. He
like
got into
finding
drugs
that like the tragic outcome of this sweet young boy in this movie. It's not I think it'd be a crime to give it a 3, but 3.5 to 4 is where I would say on the interest level.
How did Win-Win showed up with some themes? Let's do 3.5. I feel good about that.
What do you think about the fun? At least a 4, right?
Yeah, I mean the nostalgia factor here, just talking about like how much I loved this when I was a kid. Talking about Pee Wee Herman and some of the robotic stuff here, and hiding in the serving robot. Doesn't he hide in that robot and try and escape? I can't remember.
Yeah,
like a Judge Dredd kind of thing.
Sarah Jessica Parker's
the mail
delivery bot.
Yeah, that whole sequence where he's like driving it out and looking out the front. I don't know why there are holes there.
The mail slot.
Yeah, it's fun.
4, 4.5, 5.
Ooh.
Can't be 5.
No. It's not a 5. It's not. I was gonna say 3.5.
Ooh. I gotta say it's at least a 4.
All right, let's shade it to 4. Call it good.
Surprise factor?
So, like I said, there are a couple of factors here, but I've seen this movie several times. Like a 2?
Okay. It is a known quantity, but just like, if 2001 got a half point for being surprising that it held up, I think this deserves a 2 for...
Yeah.
Because it really
the same
doesn't
reason.
Look super dated outside the fashion.
No, the visual effects hold up
effects.
better than you'd expect for the date that it was made.
Especially there's a couple, like I remember like when the steps pour into shape to form, like some of that wasn't great. But honestly, all of the ship's like transformation and moving, the wide angle stuff, and particularly the interior of those ships is just rock fucking solid and still looks like this is a futuristic spaceship. Yeah. This is a futuristic alien spaceship. Invincible, says Boris. This was highly surprising to me. I was scared of this commission.
Yeah, so people who don't know, Invincible is an animated superhero, a dark superhero tale akin to The Boys. And I had never really heard anything about it, and they commissioned the first and last episode of season 1. And
I'm like, that sounds like a terrible idea. And because of that, I'm like, well, you know what? I kind of wanted to see this anyway because I'm a little bit more into cape shit than Jim. And I kept on hearing it was really good from some comic book fans I respected. But like, I just don't get down. I had a lot of good fun with Batman the Animated Series back when I was a teenager and even my late teens and early 20s. But that kind of Justice League cartoons in general, unless I'm watching with my kid, I'm kind of over. And it's not in all plays. Like, I like the Pixar stuff. I
Harley Quinn.
There's so much stuff to watch. Yeah, the Into the Spider-Verse, some stuff. Like if someone tells me this is like the best fucking shit, but I also associate a lot of this kind of like Justice League, very clean, bright animation style with stuff that's kind of more forgettable. And I saw that, and I'm like, oh man. I watched the whole thing, and I immediately relaxed. I'm like, well, when I saw the whole season, I'm like, this is actually a super smart commission, because it's not that the episodes in between didn't do anything, but the straight line arc of the main thing is surprisingly 90% contained in the first and last episode.
Yeah. And I think that was right. I think I got everything I needed to get out of season 1, probably in those 2 episodes. And at least it felt complete to me, having not seen the others.
Yeah.
And with a couple of questions around the edges, like, who is this person? Why are they here? But ultimately stuff that didn't matter, because the father-son relationship there is the important part, and you get plenty of that.
And the ensuing bits of the mystery of the season were mystery to get you to that thing. So it's like, it felt like, the first, it hung together remarkably well. So there's going to be a lot of interesting things to say about this. The quality, I mean, in terms of superhero cartoons, I gotta say, this is a 5. If we want to, take a half point off of it because it's animated, then I mean, I guess we can entertain that.
I mean, we didn't for World of Tomorrow. I would hate to do that for this.
That's true. I would say that they're a very different style. Like, this is commercially appeal. Like I said, this is Justice League level animation, which is good, but I don't associate it with stuff that's like, all right. I mean, it sounds like we're talking ourselves into a 5 here.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I thought the quality of the animation was, for as mass produced as it feels, it was also very good. Like, there's a lot of intricate stuff in there that they do, especially with perspective. Like, the way that they animate perspective change in like a strange 3D way that isn't like, as best I can tell, 3D animated. It's more like, I mean, maybe they do all this stuff in 3D and then just 2Dify it.
Probably a lot of assisted, at least, yeah.
Probably, but it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like, when Futurama goes 3D or something. You can tell that it's like, oh, that's a 3-dimensional thing they made, and they just put a camera in the scene. But like, this felt hand done, and it was very cool.
And there's imagery. The thing is like, when we say The Boys, like, you think, okay, well, it's going to be super fucking bloody and graphic, and it definitely is. But the animation allows them a freedom to do, like, things I wouldn't even think to envision. For example, one of the things I know what looks like now is like what it'd be like to be Superman in a first-person perspective and fly through a subway train filled full of people. With like super senses, so I could see what that looked like. And it's horrific.
Of course.
But I like the a lot of this is trades in, like Brightburn was this horror movie that's like, oh, what if, you had the Superman mythos and a child came to Earth, but they're just a bad seed. And they're exploring that in The Boys, and I thought like that I would get tired of it by the time I thought the charm would wear off in Invincible. But having that strong father-son dynamic really takes it to the next level, and just to see like how bad a bad Superman can get in terms of, just everything, and how hopeless it would feel to like square off against him. That's one of the questions I have, is like, how the fuck do you stop? How do you fucking stop a Superman? Kind of beats central to The Boys too, right?
Right. I was gonna say, it kind of beats Boys to the punch in that way, because like they're dealing with a younger child at the moment, whereas this is dealing with like a high school age child, and it's sort of like one step ahead in the terms of like storytelling, the era of story they're telling, and it was exciting. It was interesting.
Yeah, especially since the thing about The Boys is like, there's no stopping Homelander, but he's emotionally compromised. So you can manipulate him and to various extents.
Yeah.
Omega Man. What's this guy's name? I fucking forget. It's Omega Man, isn't it? Whoever the Superman analog here is completely self-assured and confident in who and what he is. You are not going to make him feel inferior or guilty, or when I say you, I mean any kind of human. I think that's super, super interesting. And I'm not saying he's completely not emotionally compromised because the last season wouldn't have gone down the way it did if he wasn't. But not nearly like the extent the Homelander, where Homelander can be his kryptonite is a matronly breast. You know, you can find them. Those can be
a dime a dozen. Come on.
Anyway, so that's our little statement on the old Invincible. I guess it's a 5.
I guess so.
What do you think about interest level?
I mean, it's not dealing with, you know, the deepest of themes, although there's a little bit of like maternal and paternal angst in there. I'm trying to figure out, you know, like as a parent, how should I deal with this child? You know, as a child, how should I interact with my parents? And these two parents are so different. There's a lot of dynamics going on there. And those were fun to talk about, or, you know, interesting to talk about. But it wasn't on the level of like a Space Odyssey or anything.
No, there's a lot of interesting emotional stuff. Like you said, things about family, things about trust, friendship, when you can be vulnerable with people, when you owe people the truth. I thought that stuff was really interesting, but you're right. It's not like
the big twist
mechanics
that happens at the end of that season that I won't spoil is pretty good. And there was some interesting stuff around that to talk about. But yeah, it's not, I'd give it like a 4 maybe.
Yeah, I can see that. And I kind of feel the same way with Fun. I thought it was a fun show to talk about. It's really fun in the terms of like voice acting. There's several. The Next Generation, like Michael Dorn, does a voice of one of the villains. Clancy Brown is in it. The voice cast is super impressive, and it's anchored by J.K. Simmons and Stephen Yeun. Yeah, who's having quite the year. You know, or quite the last 2 years with Minari and Invincible here. I thought it was fun, but it's not like, you know. I don't know. 4 might be too high.
I think 3. Yeah, 3 sounds pretty good.
I feel like we should watch the previous years commissioned to get a good feel, because I have no idea if we're consistent from year to year. Like, you know, or maybe it's more fun this way.
Sure.
A surprise. I'm giving this a clear 5 because I went in this thinking I would not have and I even told the guy, I said, you know, Jim's kind of over Cape shit. This is a risky project. Let me watch a couple episodes and then I'll let me know if at least I'll be on board. And I think the first episode I was kind of like crossed, you know, arms, squinty, narrowed, suspicious eyes, and we get to there is a twist at the end of the episode that kind of, you know, sets the tone, and I'm like, oh, okay. It's like an after credit scene, if I recall.
Is it the fight? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to go down like anything that I'm thinking of.
No.
So yeah, this is a 5 surprise for me, and since you liked it at all, I gotta give it.
Yeah, no, I was very pleasantly surprised.
Southpaw.
What? Jake Gyllenhaal boxing movie.
It's good.
It's very good.
I don't think it's 5 worthy.
I agree.
4 seems damning it with faint praise, but maybe 4.
Yeah, I mean,
is it the Almost Famous quality of boxing films?
Certainly it is. You know, it's not Raging Bull.
Yeah, I think Gran Torino win-win. This is not a shameful designation for this movie.
And it's not Rarefied Air either. You know, it's like.
What do you think about interest?
There was some stuff about the mechanics of that movie that we talked about, like with his wife, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
how we
and the
didn't
fact
see
that,
some of that stuff coming, and they handled it way
yes,
better than we expected once we did. And the stuff with
yeah,
his daughter, just getting stuck in the system, even though like, yeah, he did some bad stuff, but he also is a good father, and like the confusion and the just
it's such
shitty
a
situation.
it is. You're talking about the structure of the movie and how it's written. It's such a brilliant. I think we've talked about some on the podcast that like one of these problems is these movies they can't just be about boxing because that's fucking boring.
Yeah.
So they usually throw in some romance, a love story,
Mhm.
and this is a love story, but it's between a father and his daughter,
Yeah.
and that solves so many of the problems you get with the traditional kind of like wet blanket. Oh, you shouldn't go out and beat your brains out. It's you put me and the kids. I mean, that's like. That's there. That's realistic, but also, goddamn, every fucking boxing movie, right?
Yeah.
By having it be a struggle between him having to kind of like master himself,
Mhm. In order to win back a daughter that's not even sure she wants to be won back, there's questions about like, does she even want to be with him at this point?
Dude, I think it's brilliant when a movie has you as the audience with its protagonist being like, damn, I don't know if I want him to have that baby back.
Yeah. But
like, it might
but
be...
never pushing me over the edge either. It felt like,
right. I was rooting for him the whole time, yeah. So I think it's, I don't know, is that is 3 too low?
3.5 is, like 3.5 is kind of where I was coming in.
Fun. I don't think this is a particularly fun movie.
No.
It's not anti-fun. I didn't find it tough to talk about, but it's a 2, 3?
2. I feel like 2 is as high as I can get here.
And surprise? I was actually surprised Jake Gyllenhaal did a good. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be, but I went in this skeptical. Like, I don't know that I buy him as a boxer. I don't know if I buy him like that ferocious. I don't know if Donnie Darko's got that in him. And he must have worked his ass off because he looked the part, he acted the part.
Yeah.
And I was also surprised I remember being impressed by the boxing in this film.
Not bad. Not bad.
So I'm gonna give this like 4.
Mm-hmm. It's the number that was floating around in my head too.
The Guest. This is what if Dan Stevens was just a real son of a bitch? Like Cape Fear, only with cousin Matthew from Downton Abbey.
This is a wild movie.
Is 4 too good? Because it's got a there's something about the cinematography that feels made for video, direct to video. It doesn't have what's the opposite of A24? It does whatever that real film, someone's using really expensive glass and really expensive this and really it's not that. It's not that.
It's
made for
a little
TV
schlocky.
movie. It's a little schlocky, but in a way that perfectly suits the material. Like,
I think so.
This is like almost a Jennifer's Body. It's not quite that funny, but it is, not to be completely 100% taken seriously either.
Yeah. Quality of this. It's hard to separate my feelings on like, the seriousness of the movie itself and the quality of the movie. Like, it's easier with Predator because it has got a reputation. The Guest has none of that.
Right. I had no idea. This movie was super fucking fun to watch.
Well, early going, I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that's, until you get to the end and you kind of understand what's going on, a lot of this seems sillier and worse than it is. But by the end, I feel like this hits a 4. I don't know, because this movie's not to be taken seriously. It's ridiculous on many levels, but that's what makes the movie.
Stuff we're talking about, like, this doesn't look like Gran Torino Win-Win Adventures of the Baron. It doesn't have that like cinematic feel.
Right.
But that's not a drawback for this film, because this film is very pulpy, and it kind of adds to, you know, like those Roadhouse, those Grindhouse movies didn't. It feels like that. It feels closer to that aesthetic, but done like that was something all done in post production and to make it look that like, you know, that style. This is just like, because that's what this fucking thing is. This is, you know, a Grindhouse type of affair, and you know, Dan Stevens is really good. Dan Stevens is great in this movie. This is the kind of movie where if this doesn't hit you right, you're gonna hate it. Like you're gonna think this is just a piece of trash. But it happened that we were unprepared enough for it and fans enough of the genre that when we saw what it was doing, we were like, okay, yeah, we're in. Like, you got to be a fan of like Universal Soldier and It Follows and like a couple of other, you know, more schlocky movies in the horror genre, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You got to be a fan of like all that ridiculous stuff. Yeah. And I also, being as far as being in the right frame of mind, I think most people, I don't want you to put that off, because I think most people will like this movie. There's a lot of different ways you can like appreciate it and go into it. I went into expecting, I thought this was going to be like a low budget but realistic thriller on the lines of like a Jason Bourne. God, see, I went in thinking it was like a ghost story, The Haunting kind of thing. So we were like half right, quarter right. So like it's a movie, like I said, I almost feel like maybe we've ruined it by telling you what to expect. But I think if you go in thinking of Jennifer's Body, except for less supernatural and more kind of like you said, Jason Bourne, Universal Soldier in its aesthetic, but that kind of tongue firmly in cheek, not to be taken too seriously, I think it's probably on balance of 4. All right, I'll go with that. Because I did like anyone it. Have we had lower than a 4? I'm a little bothered by maybe these movies are all straight bangers. Pick really good movies. Yeah. Boy, anybody, if we ever give someone a 3, they're gonna just fucking burst into tears. Jesus. Right. 4. It's the most meaningless variable apparently to film the media quality. For interest, I don't know, man. What the hell? There isn't much that's interesting here. Dan Stevens pulling this shit off. Yeah. Like the physicality of a badass. I've seen him be a badass in like, you know, in terms of mental mumbo jumbo in Legion. And of course he was like some sort of commander in a World War I battlefield, but I think I didn't really see him do anything heroic. But he's like, yeah, he's definitely playing like another role like this, and we'd have to put him on the badass spreadsheet. Point blank period. Yeah. But how interesting is that? Not too. Yeah. Fun? This was a lot of fun because there's a lot of stuff you can openly mock and question. The guy, this is the one that's got the guy trying to get through the haunted house at the end, right? That's where the last, and God, there's some really funny dialogue with that. Yeah, it's the younger brother, right? He's like, I just remember him asking directions at the haunted house, and the guy's like, well, you take it, and he just gives this completely long, and the guy, he does that like where his heart just sinks, like, oh, Jesus, this is... It's like when a local gives you directions that last longer than 15 seconds. At some point, you just like, well, shit, I'm not writing this down. And this is nonsense yokel shit. So I'm just going to smile politely and say thank you and drive off and try to find a map. Well, I don't know. What do you think? I just remember this being a fun freewheeling podcast. It 3, was, 4? But yeah, I don't remember any of the goofs. I don't remember like if they were super solid ones, but I don't know. Probably 3.5. That's high. Surprise factor though? That surprise factor though? Yeah, like I said, I was expecting a ghost story like the others or some shit, but it surprised me in both
what this movie was about, and also how it weaved it's totally seemingly incompatible narratives together, like with the military stuff that's happening and the slasher stuff that's happening, and
it's parental,
like the drugs stuff with the daughter,
parents
and
just can't understand kind of thing going on.
Yeah, it's wild, man, and I really enjoyed it. So it's pretty high on surprise factor.
Getting bullied. A lot of stuff. I'm thinking it's a 5 because, like
Those
I
fight
said,
scenes.
I think this is a 5 because I went in expecting one thing, was kind of like, well, this isn't what, but by the end I'm like, oh god, I'm so glad it was this thing, because I mean, a low budget Jason Bourne is not going to be interesting for anybody but for the diest of hardest Dan Stevens fans. But this I can recommend to people. So I'm good at 5. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's definitely where the film hangs its hat. True Romance. Quentin Tarantino wrote a damn thing, and Tony Scott directed a damn thing. And
it's weird. What's with Dennis Hopper in this movie, man? It's weird. It's got some cool moments. It's got some
Quentin
good stuff.
Tarantino loves the N-word, man. He loves the form, the shape, the sound.
It's got Christopher Walken.
Power.
It's got Balky.
Cousin Balky? Yeah, it does. Patricia Arquette looking real fine.
Yeah, I remember liking this movie, though not like over the moon about it.
But is super interesting to me to see how much of the Quentin Tarantino came through the writing, and it feels much more like a Quentin Tarantino flick than it does a Tony Scott film.
Totally.
And it also is interesting to see this as a laboratory film, like the hallmarks of Quentin Tarantino, like the outrageous violence against women, but in a way that's like, yeah, you probably give it a pass on balance, you know.
Right.
There's a lot of like really interesting things that he will develop in Hateful Eight and Once Upon a Time in Mexico, or push those boundaries further.
Yeah, I feel like a 4 is probably where this belongs.
But yeah, it's not Pulp Fiction. It's not Jackie Brown. It's not any of those things. So I'm good with, God damn, another fucking 4 for real. Well, there was no bad films on
that's
the commission
thing
list.
These are commissions, right? If we think, oh, this is going to be a shit film, we tell people and they pick something else, which
that's true.
I think
we have
happened
started
a few times.
to self, because like we didn't used to do that, and a couple times we made stuff that we didn't. And there's also people that like next year we're gonna have to put a quality on Killjoy. And let me tell you, it's not going to shine in that category, but it's going to get a 5 on fun and probably surprise. So yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I told him, it's like, man, are you sure? I looked at this thing and it looks like a piece of shit. Oh no, they didn't even respond. So yeah, there's that's the confidence. They knew. The confidence you want out of a commissioner. It's cool guys don't look at explosions. It's the same kind
of. He flipped us the keys and turned his back.
He poured out the can of gas. He flipped a match behind his shoulder, and he's not. Yeah, he's gone. True Romance. Interest.
I thought it was pretty interesting, like you said, with the Tarantino.
It is interesting. It is an interesting piece of the Tarantino collection that I don't even think I was aware of the fact that Quentin Tarantino had. I know he's written a couple of things that other people directed, but I certainly didn't know Tony Scott had directed one. This is kind of like like a blind spot of my film watching career. And I'm glad I filled it. So, and the stuff I found out about it, it's tons of interesting stuff. I'm gonna give it a 4.
I've been watching a lot of things that have Balky in them lately. I can't remember what the other one was, but recently.
Yes. What was it? It was Wall Street. No, it was Risky Business.
Yes, Risky Business.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see the run that he had in the 80s. and early
What's his
90s
name?
and
Bronson Pinchot.
something, I don't know how you say it, but yeah, probably Pinchot.
Yeah, he was a kind of a phenom there for a bit.
What happened? Was that before or after the Perfect Stranger stuff?
You know, that's why I'm, because like it used to be, it's not this way anymore. If anything, it's different. But it used to be that if you were kind of a one track man,
yeah,
like if you got onto the TV track. So I wonder if these were films where he was kind of like trying to land a deal in Perfect Stranger. And then how the hell do you not see him as Balky? Like,
right. But retroactively, it's become a more interesting thing to me, having watched True Romance, seeing him in that. Now that I've seen some of his other work and gone, you know what? True Romance was actually like a pretty good performance by him, and he's actually not a bad actor. He's not just Balky, and I don't know. That was the beginning of it. So yeah, I was interested.
Don't be ridiculous, Jim. Cousin Balky's always been solid gold.
Apparently.
It's a fun podcast.
It was pretty fun. Yeah, I remember having fun with Dennis Hopper, Christopher Walken. His stuff was
Jesus, Christopher Walken as the Italian
fun to talk about. Yep.
Gentleman getting schooled by the very real history of what the Italians. There's multi-level slurs like this. Yeah, my God,
that scene.
This was fun. So 4. I mean 3.
3.5. I don't. You know what I remember about this? I remember being a little intimidated and not super eager to talk about it, and I think because of that, it was not as much fun as it could have been for me.
Right, because some of these scenes that were pretty uncomfortable.
Some of the scenes, and
there's a lot.
It's just like the baggage that comes with, oh, this is Tarantino, right? Like we've got you've got another level of stuff there that you have to talk about.
Some expectations, yeah.
Yeah, and so I remember it not being as fun as it could have been, simply because of that.
And then surprise factor, man, how surprising can you be that a Quentin Tarantino film that was directed by one of the Scotts turned out pretty good?
Yeah.
When in fact I think I told him, it's like, hey, I don't have any knowledge about this movie. It seems to be well regarded, and hey, you know, it's directed by Tony Scott and written by. I can't imagine Jim and I won't make an interesting podcast out of this. I'd say then that's not exactly a 1 but it's like a 3 at best because I expected it to be good.
Yeah, at best. I mean, what, 2.5?
2.5.
Yeah,
that feels right. And then, oh my God, Jurassic Park
5.
This is
media quality.
On the scale of dinosaur films, this is a 5.
I mean, on the scale of effects films, action films, I mean, it's just such a solidly. I didn't realize, because it's been a long time since I've actually like sat down and watched Jurassic Park, like several years. I didn't realize how good this fucking script is from the jump. Dude. Like that first scene. It just says so much about every character in so little time.
It was interesting to go back and take a look at, Steven Spielberg in his prime, like commercial movie mode, because that's the thing I kept on in the last year or two. We've seen like Catch Me If You Can, Jaws, Jurassic Park, and he's the master at that.
Dude,
every piece of information in the first 15 to 20 minutes of a Steven Spielberg film is telling you 3 to 5 things,
right?
About the characters, the relationship, the premise, the plot. You compare this to Inception, like a Christopher Nolan film, which I like Christopher Nolan shit, but Christopher Nolan's the opposite, where it's like, you're just watching this kind of interesting character story with some badass action, and then you get to like one of the act breaks and then exposition. Like we're gonna just sit down and have to tell you a bunch of shit. This rarely happens in Spielberg film, and it just makes them effortless to watch.
Totally, yeah. And rewatch is more rewarding too because you can see the construction of it.
Yeah.
Quality, it's 5.
Yeah. Interest. Trying to think if there was.
Talked a little bit
I know
about
we had
the
a lot to
effects.
say about, there to me there is some interesting kind of how we feel about eccentric billionaires, Hammond as a flim flam man, and his kind of like the nonsensical kind of like what are you're gonna have Jurassic Park for poor people? How are you gonna get into Costa Rica? Like what? Gonna have a coupon day? Get the fuck out of here. And there was some interesting like I think science, like cloning things we talked about and chaos theory, although we didn't even delve into like that stuff was so much more mind-blowing back in the day,
right? Before I'd seen Butterfly Effect.
right
Which really goes into that stuff.
I don't know, man. I thought but the thing I'm gonna give this like probably close to a 5 for fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the
I don't know that
stuff
it's a 5
alone.
in interest.
I don't think it is. That'd be like 3.5 on interest. What do you think?
It's pretty for fun. I think. Oh, for interest, 3.5 seems good. Maybe I could argue for 4, but I don't know if this is fun. I don't know if this is a 5. Like I said, 5 on fun is pretty hollowed ground for me.
Is there anything here that's hit a 5? No.
On fun? I don't think so.
Oh wait, Predator. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a couple films a year where I'm like, oh my god, it's not just, it's like while I'm watching the movie and taking my notes, I'm like, oh my god, we are going to hit such a home run out of this thing. I just know it. I just feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And this, as soon as I saw I remember the day when we put it on the board. We're like, because it's a weekly process. Go through the box, see who's done, and we're like, holy shit, Jurassic Park! My god, that one's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
We were thinking like, hey, is it ethical for us to hold it over until like the new one that comes out that we could do? Nah, probably need to do like, because it's like it's going to be good, man. It's going to be good. I think it's just below that, like a 4.5.
Okay. And then surprise. It's a 1. It's got to be a 1. I've seen this movie so many times. I can quote good chunks of this movie. Like,
but for the first time, I thought the Savannah scene lost a bit of luster.
Sure.
I thought the movie, one of the things this movie hangs its hat on, that hook is a little wobbly in the wall.
So you're arguing for an extra half point, like 1.5, or?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, 1.5 because I thought the dinosaurs' textures look pretty bad, and they don't. Watch their feet, man.
Yeah.
Watch the dinosaurs' feet. When they get outside of nighttime and squishy mud, when they're on like a solid surface, they are not making solid contact with the ground. When they're on metallic surfaces and tile floors, it's kind of a shit show. But it was also 1992, 93.
Yeah. The effects work is
the year
incredible.
Before, it was amazing that the Terminator walked around with no textures on. Like,
yep.
So, all right. Now we have to. Oh God! Now we have to
total these. Okay.
Do all this. Why don't we do this in a spreadsheet?
That would be a good idea.
I will. Will you shout out the names or the names? We shout out the numbers on this, and I will.
I'll just total them. That's
you know what?
15.
We should. Oh, really? You can just do this in your head. Okay. Yeah. Basic math. Jim can do it.
I'm good at addition. 15. 16.
World of Tomorrow.
Oh, well, now you threw in 0.5s. Now you're really fucking with me here.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how.
That's a 11. Ooh, really? Really? That's an 11? Because no surprise.
I don't know, man. You're the one looking like a 13. Real asshole if they're wrong.
It's true.
I don't trust myself.
Oh, shit. 14. 14.
Predator.
Oh, 13 and a half?
See,
that's fucking surprise.
Kills these guys.
Right? 15.
It's a giant killer. 15. Almost Famous 15. Almost Famous beating Predator by
1.5
points.
Half?
What the Space Odyssey? What the shit?
If you were just more fun, Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
14? Yeah, 14.
Invincible.
17.
Get the fuck out of here.
17. Holy
Southpaw.
shit. 13 and a half.
13.5. The Guest.
14 and a half.
True Romance.
14.
And then Jurassic Park.
Oh god, my eyes are blurring with these dashes and dots. It's like I'm seeing Morse code. 14 and a half, I think. If all my dots and dashes are in the right place.
All right, I'm gonna put these in just strictly numerical. See, this I just should have done this on the spreadsheet. It's still not too late.
Yeah,
Still not too late, Aaron. It's getting there, but it's not too late. If we adjust any of these things, oh my god.
Right.
Okay, get these guys up. Make them rise up. I don't like Predator being 6 already. Not a fan
It's
of that.
a surprise, man. It kills it and interest.
I know.
It's either going to be interesting or fun.
But that's why these are just where we start. We reserve the right to do whatever the fuck we want. This just gets the conversation going.
Totally.
Because this used to be this all started because this is a ball buster category. What does it even mean? Okay. And y'all have a say in this too. So we can't be 100% blamed.
Kablamed.
This is just our opinion, man. Okay. Gran Torino, congratulations. You really sucked it up this year. So that's what I'm saying. Also, these people paid us a bunch of money for these movies.
Yeah, we're not saying Gran Torino sucked. I mean, look at the numbers, right?
No, you did.
It's a 4.
You did,
it was interesting. It wasn't a ton of fun, but
so like the grades you got in kindergarten needs improvement.
Mm-hmm.
We need Gran Torino 2. All right, let's see. Number 1, Invincible. I don't like that, Jim.
Wow.
I don't like it. Doesn't feel right.
Did we weight the surprise too much on that?
I think we always do. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm not standing for this.
Okay.
Do we think Invincible? Did you like the Invincible podcast more than you like Jurassic Park? I say no.
I mean, no. I wanted to talk about Jurassic Park, but it can only go so high because of the surprise.
Nope. We can make it go as high as we want. You're not hearing me.
So you're saying this shouldn't be a 5 in media quality? It should be an 8?
No, I'm saying that like this just gets us started. This is our favorite commission podcast of the year, and if our fucking myth system muffed us up, then we take manual control. The computer suggested in a simulation, and we're like, okay, well, it's a good starting place.
Like Fly the Navigator. We're gonna wrench the controls from Pee Wee Herman's hands because clearly he can't be trusted.
We are. So I'm up at Jurassic Park Jurassic Park number 1. Take it to the top. Predator. I'm taking it to the top.
Damn.
Would you like to nominate any others? Lost in Translation, maybe to the top. Space Odyssey. I enjoyed the hell out of that, man.
Yeah.
Take that one to the top.
I feel like the Odyssey needs to be near the top.
Why
did we bother with all the myths shit if we're just gonna say we like this one? No,
because it's mostly right. It's just a surprise. The surprise is fucking some of the old greats, and I don't like that. That's not fair.
I mean, 2001 gets fucked on fun too because it's not a fun podcast.
That's what I'm saying.
It is exceedingly interesting.
Gotta culture these children, Jim. We can't let them just eat cotton candy all day.
I feel like we're waiting.
I think
interest.
I think we're good. I think we could cap surprise at like a 3. I think that would be an interesting thing to do because it's such a binary thing, and I think we need to wait. That's what we need to do. We need to weight fun a little bit more and weight surprise a little bit less. And I think this would be closer to our actual feelings.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm going to make a note
Probably
of
right.
that.
Yeah, Surprise Max 3 or
Next
something.
year, we need to find a way to increase weight of fun and decrease weight of surprise. Everything else, I think, feels all right. Do you have any others? Do you want to, like, I think Tombstone should rise a little. Maybe not.
Yeah, I remember that World of
Maybe
Tomorrow
not.
podcast being enjoyable for me. Not in like the fun way, but in stimulating, mentally stimulating podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty damn good list, man.
I would put Flight. I would bump. Lost. What about Lost in Translation? Maybe that's about right. I don't know that I enjoyed the overall experience of that more than True Romance or The Guest.
Where's the cutoff on this? Are we talking about 5? Like top 5 is what's going to be
probably top
nominees?
5 is where we're gonna be official nominees, and we'll probably read out the top 10 for just interest. It's a pretty good top 5.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And it's tough because a lot of these are movies that I really enjoyed watching and talking about, but
let me
all
make
of
a
them
suggestion. I am taking Predator, highlighting it, and putting over 2001. How's that feel?
What?
I think it feels.
I don't know.
Like
to me,
2 masculine oiled arms clapping in
together.
unity and solidarity.
Mm-hmm.
Feels strong. Feels girthy. Feels veinous.
Here's my dirty little
oiled.
secret. I have more of a personal affinity for Jurassic Park than I do Predator.
Fuck! I did not see that coming.
I know. I just love that movie so much. I saw it at the right age. It's about dinosaurs.
It's a great movie.
Like,
it's a great movie.
It is.
I'm just saying, gun to my head, you asked me if I want to rewatch one right now, and I had the choice of Predator, 2001, Jurassic Park. I would watch Predator first.
I think the cast of Jurassic Park is better.
Well, that's an interesting, controversial statement.
I mean,
for
you
fitness
have
of purpose.
You have so much concentration of badassery in two individuals, and then the rest of them I could take or leave. In Jurassic Park, you've got just an ensemble that works so well together.
And the Jurassic
and
Park
all the side characters are amazing. Hold on to your butts. Sam Jackson, Dennis Nedry is incredible. Like, Hammond is amazing. The one exception is like the lawyer and the kids, right? The kids can be.
Oh, the lawyer's great. Gennaro's great.
I mean,
the Jurassic Park is a multivitamin for sure.
Yeah.
It's well balanced. Yeah. Most doctors say but the cast
Predator
of Predator is just a
full of
steroid
HGH.
syringe. It's just exactly.
Okay.
But
and it's all like they had an HGH budget and they gave it all to Schwarzenegger and Weathers, and the rest of them just decided, come along for the ride.
Okay, so you're saying Jurassic Park at least going to 2.
Yeah.
Have to do another Coin of Doom.
I know people aren't going to like that, huh? Like 2001.
No, I don't think our fan base is that got the vapors for cinema. Because again,
they're probably rooting for Jurassic Park and Predator 2, honestly.
If I had to rank the absolute quality of these films, 2001 is above everything on this list.
Clearly.
Comfortably. But if I'm talking about my favorite podcast of the year, it is like, okay, here's the thing. Like, you might like Jurassic Park. Do you really like the podcast we did better than... It's a good podcast, though.
I thought it was a good podcast, and I was so excited. I did more reading and thinking about Jurassic Park in terms of filmmaking than I do on most other podcasts, just because like
You got that passion, yeah.
Yeah, A, I've got the passion for it. B, I already am so familiar with the movie that there was nothing like, oh, I need to see how this hangs together. No, it works. And so, yeah, I found myself like really excited for that podcast and really enjoying the experience of recording it. Then again, it's not like a Willy Wonka where we just hit on something so intrinsically funny that the podcast itself becomes even more exciting than the movie that we watched.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Because, like I said, I have a clear preference for Predator over Jurassic Park, but they're both great. And if you have a clear preference other, then I'd say we coin a doom it.
All right, let's go and doom it.
Coin it? All right.
Yeah.
As always, we're using the CR 2032 to like get the other thing out of storage.
Jesus Christ.
Head is the plus
We're filming
side.
these over the course of like multiple weeks, which means at any time, Aaron could have grabbed the coin and doom.
Yeah, I coulda. And tails are this thing. You got a lot of ball move boxes too, buddy.
That's true. Mine just don't happen to hold the coin of doom.
You don't think so? You don't think so?
No, I think it's been at your place for a while.
God, I've gone through almost every, like, anyway. Predator will be heads since it's first on the list right now.
Which
JP
is
will be
the plus, yeah.
Yeah,
or is that...
JP will be minus. Okay. And we're good on this top 5 though, right?
Yeah, I like top 5.
Okay. Here we go. Flipping. I'm dipping. It's fucking tails.
I'm telling you, it's improperly weighted.
It's tails. Well, we did get a head. We did get the first one was head. So
did we? All right.
Yeah, we got two tails, one head. Too early to say. God damn
you know
it.
What that means?
Controversial.
Controversial. Oh, really? Flipping
means I want to have Warren
battery.
Beatty come up and present the award, and he's going to read Predator. And it's going to be a scandal. The people's champ.
Yeah, Kanye's going to come out and say, I'm going
to let you finish in a minute.
Much finish, but Predator totally deserved it.
Well, there you go. That's the Commission podcast. My lord, that was a long deliberation.
Yeah.
Whew. Sweat on that one. See you on the next one, everybody.